Okay, so it's not too bad right now. I now want to, maybe before I move on, I'm just going to make these links into real links instead of just kind of these placeholder links. So just so you are aware of how to do that. So now, again, let's just take another look at this anchor tag here. So it's like all other tags, you have your opening tag and you have your closing tag. And that opening and closing tag, the two parts of your tag, bracket whatever is going to be the visible content. So in this case, what I've got highlighted here is link 1 that comes between the opening and closing anchor tags, defining it as an anchor, right? So that's link 1. Right now, if I click on it, it doesn't really go anywhere because it's just going to hashtag, right? There's no website called hashtag. Or that's simply a hashtag. So what I want to do is enter in a real URL here. And a couple of these I'll be showing you guys later, but let's say one of the resources I want to provide here would be a link to get a free hosting site so that you can get online. So maybe I'll link to freehostingeu.com. Okay. And now we talked about earlier in the semester that clarity is an important aspect of writing for the web. And so here's an opportunity to clarify something, right? So this right here, link 1, doesn't really tell the visitor anything about where they're clicking to, where they're going to be taken if they click here. So I just want to clarify that by saying something like free hosting, pretty descriptive, right? Or free server space or something like that, whatever would get the message across so that they know where they're actually linking to, right? So if I save that, if I go up to File and choose Save, and I come back here and I refresh, you can see that now that says free hosting instead of link 1. And if I click there, it'll actually take us to the free hosting website. Okay, so always check your links after you've inserted them just to make sure that they're going where you think they're going. Okay, and then maybe maybe just while I'm doing free stuff here, I'll also do a link to free fonts. So I'll show you guys this in a second, but if I go to google.com/fonts, Google has like a whole set of free fonts that anyone can make use of within their website. So, and it's really easy to do. I'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit. But let's just say free fonts. Okay. And then finally, I've got a third link here, and I'll send it to, whoops, www.w3schools.com. And let's highlight this and let's call this Learn Coding. This is actually a really great site for learning how to code. If you guys want to take your skills a little further than we have time to go over this semester. But in any case, so I will go up here, save this, and go back to my web page and refresh this and test each of these links. Okay, that takes me to Google Fonts. Learn Coding takes me to the W3 website, so that's great. And we already tested this one earlier, so that does take us to the free hosting EU site. So, so far so good on the content here. Now, I did want to include a email sign up form on here, so someone can get signed up with an email newsletter. So what I'll use is MailChimp, mostly because it's free. Well, they're paid for levels, but you all can sign up for a free MailChimp account if you plan on having regular updates and want to be able to send out nice looking newsletters. Okay, in any case, so I've gone to MailChimp.com. Looks like I'm already logged in, so I'm going to go to audience. And so basically I'm going here just so that I can get a piece of code generated for me that will embed an email sign up form onto my web page. So I'm going to go to manage audience and I'm going to choose sign up forms. Okay, and there are a few different options in here. I'm just going to go with embedded forms here. If you guys decide to sign up for MailChimp, you can explore some of the other nifty options they have on there, but I'm just going to go with the basic here. So I am going to have this be, I don't think I need this subscribe. So what I've got here are my form options on one side and a preview of what the form looks like on the other. I'm not going to really worry too much about what this looks like right now because I'm planning on styling this up with my CSS document anyways, with my style sheet, but I'm just going to get some stuff stripped away from this that I don't really need. So first of all, I don't think I need this thing that says subscribe here. I'm already saying that in the text. I don't need all these fields to show, just the required fields. So that takes me down already to just the email and the subscribe button here. Since there's only one field, I don't think I need this indication of required fields anymore either. And I think that should be good. So in any case, I'll probably strip this down a little bit more still, but this is a good start. So now this code, it does look a little bit ugly, kind of like when you're taking the embed code from Twitter. It's not pretty code, but it works. So what I want to do is just select all of this code. It says copy and paste into your site, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I've selected all of it. I'll right click and choose copy. And now I'll go back over here to my site, and here I will do my email form. Okay, so I'll paste that in there. Okay, so this is the thing I dislike about pasting in embed code from other sites is it makes it look really, really messy. And so I like to spend a little time just kind of getting it cleaned up. Yeah, you guys don't have to do that. That's just my thing, you know. But now this code, it might look intimidating when you're first learning how to code and borrow pieces and snippets of code and integrate that into your site. But a lot of what's here you can kind of ignore. There are just a few things I'm going to hold on to in the meantime. So, I know that I see this style definition here, and I'm going to be revisiting that in a moment. I don't really need their style sheet because I'm going to be doing my own, so I'm going to just highlight the link to their style sheet here on there, and I'm going to hit delete on that. And I'll save this, and we can just take a quick look at what this looks like before I start, coding this up with customized stuff. Don't need that anymore. So I'll refresh this. And so all of that ugly code that I just copied and pasted in here, all of this here, basically just ended up generating this little bit of content right here. Okay, so let's see, I've got an error here. Well, this is an error that they have, so maybe I'm going to ignore this error for now, since I think it'll still work anyways. But in any case, so if something's broken, then I'll go back to it and fix it. Okay, so in any case, I've got that in there, and now maybe before maybe I want to add in some image in here. So let's see, this whole want to keep up with my work. Maybe I will embed a graphic in there that can kind of, I don't know, go with that a little bit. So now you can get graphics from wherever you want. You've got your own graphics that you know, for some of you who are artists or photographers, you probably have tons of graphics that you can use. Otherwise, or in addition to that, there are also free stock image sites that you can go to, like unsplash.com, which is free to sign up for, and Pixabay is another good one. So if I, for example, go here to this Unsplash site here, I scroll through, you can see that there are a whole bunch of images here, and they're all pretty much free for you to use. And so you might find that some images are, speak well to what the content of your page might be about, or you might look at some images just as interesting backgrounds that you might have to a site, right? So, but I know that I'm going to have a little like hello or a little email thing, so maybe I'll see what might be in here that could somewhat fit that. So let's say I use this seagull here. Okay, so maybe I'll use this seagull. The seagull will be like, will kind of highlight my text saying like, do you want to get in touch with me, or do you want to follow me on or sign up for my mailing list? So I'll take this. I'm just going to click on the free download option here. You could go with the largest size. You'll always be scaling down anyway. So I'll download that. And that went to my downloads folder, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to just drag it down here to Photoshop. Okay, so now I've got that image here in Photoshop, and I think I don't need all of this background imagery in here. It's just the bird itself that I want. So I'm going to cut this bird out. So a good tool for doing that would be one of your lasso tools, the polygon lasso I've shown you in class. I'm going to give this a go with the magnetic polygon, or with the magnetic lasso tool, which it's the same as the polygon tool, except it's a little bit smarter. It works best when there are images that contrast a lot with its background, like the way this bird is like crisp white, but the background is kind of dark and blurry. It's a little bit easier to use stuff like the magnetic lasso or other smart tools on backgrounds like that. Okay, every once in a while, and so all I'm doing is just kind of, I'm not even holding the mouse down, I'm just kind of running my mouse along the edge of the form I want to cut out. Once in a while you'll find that you might need to click, so when I'm getting to a corner I like to click just to make sure that it recognizes that that is the shape of the thing, especially if you're getting into an area where there's not a lot of contrast between your image and the rest of the background. Okay, so let's go to here and go around the edge here. And you'll notice that once I get to the beginning, a little circle will appear next to my mouse here. Let's see. You see that little circle? When I see that circle, it means that if I click, I now have that area selected. Do you see the little marching ants going around the edge of that bird shape? Okay, so in any case, now that I've done that, I'm going to just quickly create a layer mask by going here in my layer panel. Let's collapse this for now. By going here in my layer panel, and as you can see, that selection is still there. I've got one layer selected, and I'm just going to click on this button at the bottom of the layer panel called Add a Mask. And what it's going to do is it's just going to sort of blank out everything behind here and just show my bird. So I'll click that button, and like magic, it's all cleared out back there. Okay, so if you wanted to like soften the edge of this a little bit or do anything like that, you can get your properties panel open, window properties. Okay, it's going to be a little slow. Okay, so in any case, Windows properties, and in my layers panel, you can see I can select either the original thumbnail of the bird with its backgrounds, or I can select this little black and white image. That black and white image is the mask, and when I have the mask selected, the properties window will show me options to feather the edges of my selection, and it just helps like create a softer edge versus a sharper edge. It's really just whatever you're looking for. Sometimes a sharper edge is exactly what you want. Okay, so I won't soften mine too much, just a little bit. Okay, so now when well, let's also crop this down a bit. I'm just gonna draw where I want this to crop to. Oops. Let's make sure that's not a fixed ratio. Okay, so I've drawn another selection area. I'm going to choose my cropping tool here, and I'm just going to double click in there to go ahead and crop that. Okay, so now I want to make, so now I'm going to do the regular save for web export option to save this image to use on web pages. But I want to make sure that however I save it, that I can maintain these transparent areas, because I just want the bird on its own. So I'll go up to File, Export, Save for Web. Now, of course, if you wanted the whole frame, the whole rectangular image, then, you know, wouldn't be a worry. But here in my Save for Web dialog window, I have the preview of my object. I've got the information just underneath each image here, showing me what my original would be if I saved it now, and what my new image, my new web-ready image will be when if I saved it these settings. So right now this would be 1.4 megabytes. So one megabyte and 400 kilobytes. So you want to try to get your images to be a little bit smaller than that. And if I look down here, well, first of all, yeah, actually, when I look down here, there's the width and height sections, and I know 2,887 pixels is way more than I'm going to need. Now, if this were going to be something I used as a background image, or if it were an example of just like some beautiful photography that I myself did, then I might, you know, have that be like, I don't know, like 1,800, 2,000 pixels wide. But because I don't need it, you know, on that scale, I'm just going to make this maybe a 400 pixel wide image. So I just typed in 4 for the width, and you can see the height number updated automatically. So there's my image now. And now that went down from 1.4 to being megabytes to being 42 kilobytes. So that's a pretty big file reduction that we've done already. So I can go ahead and click save if I'm happy with this. If you wanted to tinker with this some more, then you could do that. You could, if you found that was too small, you could always go a little bit bigger, but I'm going to go ahead and save that now. I'm going to save it with a, let's see, oh right, I saved this to the desktop, my site root. I'm going to save this in my site root, right, because it is going to go on my site, so I want to make sure everything on my site is in my site folder. Okay, and then just going to shorten this name to something simple and easy to remember. So I'll just call it seagull.png. So PNG is one of the formats to have a transparent area to your image. And I'll probably come back in here and work on a couple more images, but for now, let's say that does it. And so back to my HTML document. So I'm in Dreamweaver again here. So here my HTML document, there's that heading that was called things, right? If I bring that up in the browser window, you can see there's things, that's the H1. The H2 is the universe and beyond. Then this nav section shows 3 links, right? And that's what we've got here. And then I've got a paragraph here. So maybe right before my paragraph, I'm going to have my bird show up there. So I need to do my image tag, which like all tags starts out with a less than sign. And then img is the element name here. And the image tag requires an attribute, so I'm going to do a space. And the attribute it requires is the source attribute, src. And I know, whoops, this is seagull.png. Okay, and then I close that out with a greater than sign just so that the tag is complete. So let's save that. See what we've got so far. Okay, so I've got a few more elements in place here. And it doesn't seem like a lot yet, but maybe it's enough for me to begin working with stylistically. So maybe before I do too much of this though, there are a couple of things that I want to do. One thing that I want to do is I think I want to create a div that's going to contain all of the content on this page here. So you can see that when I move, that my content wants to just stretch from edge to edge unless I run out of content, right? And it looks a little like, you know, like you just kind of put it up there without really caring, right? So I want to have a little bit more control over that than just like having it display in its default way. So first step to do that will be to put all of this stuff inside of a div. So I'm going to go right up here after my opening body tag, and I'm going to create a div here. Okay. So there's my opening div tag and there's my closing div tag. Closing looks just like the opening except it has a slash in front of the element name. Okay, and this div, I'm going to give it a class name. So I'll do a space, say class, and then what I'm going to call it now is contents. Your class names can really be anything you want. Like name your classes the way you would, you know, name like a recipe or something. You want to name it descriptively. Okay, so I called it contents because this div here is where I'm gonna put all the contents of my page inside of. So I'm gonna take that H1 and I'm gonna keep dragging all the way down until I get to, well, I don't think I need this script in here, so I'm just gonna take it down to the div here. Okay, so this here, I'm going to just drag and drop that in there so it's between the opening and closing div tag for contents. And when I'm dealing with a lot of with a lot of divs and stuff, one of the things that I like to do just to help me kind of keep my brain straight about what's going on is I like to do a little comment at the end of my tag. So an HTML comment starts out with a less than sign, an exclamation point, dash dash, and then whatever you want to say as a little note that you're leaving to yourself or to another programmer. So here I'm just going to say end of class equals contents. So that way I just know what that ending div is for. So I did the dash dash and then greater than sign to end that comment there. Okay, so now, and you guys don't have to do this. I end up spending a little bit of extra time on my sites just working on getting things cleaned up, getting formatting done, stuff like that. So if I take on a site that somebody else has been previously coding, this is generally what the first day or so of me working on a site entails, is me just going through and making the code look a little bit neater, making it look nicer. Okay, so let me indent that. It seems a little OCD, but it's actually like a really helpful thing to do. So, you know, you can do yourself a favor, especially when you're first learning this stuff. Okay, so anyways, I've got that in there. I've got my div that wraps around everything, and I call that contents. I'm going to save that and just make sure nothing's broken on my site, because things do get broken sometimes. So I'll save that. I'll go over here to my site and I'll refresh this again. And everything looks the same, which is exactly how it should be looking right now. Okay, so now this is really the main content of my page right here. This paragraph, this image, this subscription link here, that's the real content of my page. This up here is more like my header, so maybe I will take my header and I will move, I'll move this up here. I'll put that into its own thing. In fact, I might even go outside of that contents tag and I might do another div, and this time I'll give it a class name of header. And this is only one way you can do this stuff. So if you, for those of you who have been doing a lot of research, if you found stuff online that seems to contradict this, it's just because there's, like, you know, different ways to achieve the same stuff basically. Okay, so again, I'm going to go up to File and I'll save this. So now I have one div here that has my header, right? And what I put in my header is the title of my page, things. I put in this universe and beyond in there is like the tagline. So this would be like really the name of the site, right? And the tagline of the site. And then I also have my nav bar, my navigation in there as well. Okay. And then the contents area contains pretty much everything else. It contains the it contains my picture. It contains my my pictures or my image here for Seagull. It contains my image. It contains a paragraph, a very short paragraph, but a paragraph. And then finally, the longest piece of code here is really the code work that I got from MailChimp so that I can embed an email registration, an email list registration on my page. Okay, so now I'm ready to begin working with my CSS. So the next thing I'm going to do is go up to File. So I have not yet created a CSS document. So the next thing I'm going to do is go up to File and choose New. And this time I still want to choose new document in the first column. I want to choose CSS in the second column, and then I'll just go ahead and say create. Okay, so Dreamweaver just created a brand new CSS document for me, and it did this the character set declaration, which, as I said before, is totally optional. I'm just going to take it out there for now, just so that the only things we see in our CSS document here are things that, you know, we're talking about here in class. So I'll get rid of all this stuff. Oops. Okay, so now before I start really entering any code into this, I want to save this. I'm going to go to File and I'll choose Save. And it's saving in my site root like everything else, but I'm going to type styles.css for the name of the file. Okay, so styles.css. And now I should go back to my HTML document and I should tell it that I've now created a style sheet and that it should follow the rules of that style sheet for how to display the information it contains. So I'm going to go into the head of my HTML document here, and I need to add something called the link tag. So the link tag is used only really in the head of your document, and it's used to let the browser know what other documents that this HTML file needs to display things the way they should be displayed. So first I need to say what kind of document this is, meaning the relationship, and the kind of document it is a style sheet, okay? And then another space because I'm about to add another attribute, and the attribute name in this case is href, so very much like with our anchor tags down here, right? And here we're just telling it where to find this thing. So I just want to type in styles.css and I'll close that. So now if I save this and I go back here, you can see that styles.css is in there, and I can go back here and styles.css is now connected to that. You can see I have this MC validate. That's just a oops, that took me out of code view. That's just a JavaScript file that MailChimp needs to use for their scripts to work properly. If you end up sort of incorporating snippets of other people's code into your web designs, you'll probably see extra JavaScript files and stuff like that in this little bar here below your file. Okay, so but otherwise you'll only see source code, which means your HTML code, and styles.css, which will be your style sheet, which we've got nothing in yet. Okay.